It's clear the Chicago Bulls are headed to a youth movement, but are the Chicago Bulls headed to tanking this season? We're going to be talking about the possibilities of the Chicago Bulls tanking this season and what they are likely going to look like in the Eastern Conference this year. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and this is another episode of Bulls Digest. Before we go ahead and jump into it, wanted to let you guys know that 78.3% of you guys that watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest news and happenings around your Chicago Bulls. Without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the hot topic of the day, which is, are the Bulls going to tank? And I would say that this is a very good question surrounding the Chicago Bulls. Obviously, we're going younger. I believe our average age now is down to about 25.4 for the roster, so it has gotten younger. And now the question is, could the Chicago Bulls be looking to tank in what is reported to be a strong draft class? And if you have been paying attention to the news, you have been watching Copper Flagg out here baking people in Team USA's practice, and obviously he is the prize of next year's draft. And quite frankly, there's a lot of good players that are going to be good in next year's draft. And I'm even hearing that, in fact, some of the players that are going to be dropping in the second round could absolutely be solid. So do the Chicago Bulls want to tank in this upcoming year? I would say no. I think initially right now, when you look at the percentages, they are so small for the Chicago Bulls to bank on tanking to get a guy like Copper Flagg, guys. And so to put this into full context, let's first go ahead and take a look at this article that you can find here on the Chicago Tribune, which is asking about the Chicago Bulls' likelihood of tanking. But they put out there that, look, Copper Flagg is going to be the prize of this upcoming draft. And they're saying that, the Bulls should retain their top 10 protected pick next year with a poor enough finish. But they want to point out that, look, the four teams that have landed lottery picks in this year's draft averaged 28.5 wins last season. The Bulls haven't finished above 500 for the last 6 of their last 7, but they haven't dropped below 30 wins since the pandemic condensed 2020 season, guys. And so, with that being said, I don't see the Chicago Bulls really falling out of that 30 plus win percentage, or percentile, I guess, whatever that looks like. I could get that out. But anyway, I don't see them falling below the 30 win mark. All right. Because look, right now they have Vooch. They have Zach LaVine back there. And I think that regardless of how bad that relationship seems with the franchise or whatever that looks like, I could expect for them to be professional. Okay, so I think that Vooch, LaVine, they're going to come in and they're going to play as if they're supposed to be there. They're going to provide some experience for these players, and they're going to, put the team in situations to win games. That's to be honest about it. Look, LaVine, Vooch, they've been there. Vooch has been on the playoff or on a playoff team with the Orlando Magic. You have LaVine, who has also had some play-in situation experience or play-in experience as well. I think he was in the playoffs too for the Chicago Bulls when they got eliminated by the Milwaukee Bucks. And then with Kobe White and Dosunmu, these are two players that just got done with some play-in experience. They have a ton of experience being around DeMar DeRozan, so I think that that's going to rub off on the club. You have Josh Giddey, who is coming over from OKC, who has been that team has been hyper competitive over there in the West. So I think that he's going to bring a winning mentality over here, and he's going to help the club win. Lonzo Ball is expected to be back this year, and we're thinking that we don't know what Lonzo is going to give us, but we do know that Lonzo, in one of our most successful season, he was starting at point guard. So if he can come back at any capacity and be good, then that's certainly going to help the team. So I just think that there's too many things on the Chicago Bulls team that suggest that it's more of a revamping of the roster versus just a full-on rebuild out of this roster, guys. And, I want to point out, or put this fact out there, guys, that when we got Patrick Williams, all right, we actually had a better season than the prior 2 seasons. And I believe the prior 2 seasons to getting Patrick Williams at 4, we actually selected 7 prior to that. And, we had a far worser season. So us trying to play the lottery to ensure that we're going to get up to Cooper Flagg, I think is just not it's not the best case scenario for the Chicago Bulls. And, quite frankly, guys, I think that the Chicago Bulls, as constructed now, I think some of the frustration that we're going to find, guys, is that as we get younger, all right, and as we eventually, shed the salaries of Vooch and LaVine, we're going to find out, guys, that the team as constructed is going to get assets back and still be within that play-in situation in the Eastern Conference and have more assets and be a younger team. So it's going to be it's almost going to be laughable, because I think that the Chicago Bulls are probably headed back to the same scenario, just minus the amount of what they had on the payroll here. So I think that that's going to be intriguing. And plus, on top of that, they're going to have, I think, a better future outlook, for this Chicago Bulls team, especially when they start to go ahead and they start to recoup some assets. And then, that just brings into what has been talked about, I think, several times onto this channel, guys, that when we look at a lot of these hypothetical trades and mock trades and things like that, those also suggest that the Chicago Bulls are looking to more so revamp the roster than rebuild it. Like, take, for instance, one of the trades that I threw up here just recently, the Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson for Zach LaVine, and obviously some draft capital here. That deal suggests that you're getting players back that have been in the NBA Finals before, have a ton of experience, and I just couldn't see them coming over here to just all of a sudden start tanking. I just don't see that happening. So the Chicago Bulls just aren't going to be, they're not going to be that terrible. That's just the reality of the matter, guys. They're not going to be that terrible. And, that brings us into the last part of this thing. When we talked about the rebuilds and the scenarios, the Bulls did not move off of LaVine and Vooch. They did move off of DeRozan and Caruso, but they did not move off of Vooch and LaVine. So therefore, we're in a situation where these guys are more than likely probably going to accumulate some big numbers, like it was said there. We're probably going to look to ship them off probably closer to the 2025 trade deadline, hopefully get some assets back here, which is going to help the team go ahead and build out further. And I just don't see AK now saying to himself, we're going to do an extreme rebuild where we're going to capitalize on letting go of Kobe White and DeSumo, because I think that those are two players that I feel like you absolutely could go ahead and build around, guys, and perhaps make a playoff team. So I don't think that the Chicago Bulls would be wise by going ahead and trading them. I think that they're young enough and they're on good enough contracts right now that you just go ahead and keep them. If you were going to do a huge rebuild, then they probably would have had to go too. That would have been, everybody would have had to go. So I just don't think that the Chicago Bulls are trending towards a team that is likely to tank, guys. And so, with that being said, do you guys feel like that, even though I'm suggesting that a tank is not going to be good percentage-wise and everything else, that the Chicago Bulls try to tank, do you feel like, hey, we should go after Cooper Flagg? And for those who don't know who he is, throwing up a clip for you guys right now. You're looking at him Team USA practice here, looking at him coming off a screen and then knocking down a jump shot. He's 6'8", around 200 pounds. I think he's 17 years old, so I think he still potentially could grow. He may even turn into a 5, guys. But look at this back down on Drew Holiday. Nice shot over the top. And then lastly, guys, look at his ability to knock down the outside jumper with a closeout by Anthony Davis, making it look effortless, guys. And so this is why this guy is a huge prize in this upcoming draft. But let me know what you guys are thinking. Do we go ahead and try to tank this thing? Do we go ahead and continue on the path that we are doing, which is revamp the roster, have assets, and just take a step or two back and be right back in the thick of things and try to push through that elusive door in the Eastern Conference, guys, where we can actually get to the top of this thing? So anyhow, even though we don't know the direction that we're going as a club, we have 1 foot in and 1 foot out on a rebuild.